Very pleased now to welcome in Matt, who's at Straight Race Cards on Instagram. Matt, how are you?
Doing great. Dave, how are you doing?
Doing really well. Really excited to have you. You're doing some really cool things with YouTube, and we'll get to the card in just a second. But first, tell us about your activity on YouTube.
Yeah, so I started on YouTube, coming up on a year. I've just been so encouraged and inspired by the community over the last few years that I was just inspired to jump in myself. And so it's been such an incredible journey getting to connect with some amazing people and then, just sharing my journey along the way. And the whole goal of that really is to encourage and inspire, as many people as I can using, it's crazy how a simple piece of cardboard can encourage and inspire so many people. So that's really what I've been up to, and it's been so fun. So I've loved it.
That's great. And the YouTube page is also Straight Race Cards.
Yeah, so YouTube is Straight Race Cards, and then Instagram is Matt Straight Race Cards. The original one got hacked, but we're back in business now, so all good.
It's my worst hobby fear, is being
Yeah,
hacked. All right.
exactly.
So when we had talked a little bit behind the scenes just for several months, and then when the series got conceived, I thought, hey, let's just see if Matt wants to do it. And you were so enthusiastic, so I'm really excited to have you bring out and to share what you're going to share. So what have you got for us today?
Yeah, so I've got this really unique 1952 Wheaties, which is a multiplayer, multi-sport set. And this is Bob Davies, Hall of Fame basketball player for the Rochester Royals. And Davies has an incredible story, and it really connects to the impetus behind all of my card collecting and childhood as well. So I was able to pick up that Davies for a mere $10, which is great. And it's kind of funny because the short backstory is I found it on this I couldn't find the right copy at the right price, but I went on this really sketchy website called baseballcards.com. And I found the cards, emailed the guy, and he had terrible reviews. Ended up buying the card, getting it for $10, but he didn't ship it for like 3 or 4 months. And I kept emailing the guy. And finally, I just had written off my $10, and finally had gotten got the card, a couple months after that. So miraculously, I got the card, but so just grateful to own it. But yeah, that Davies is really, really cool though, because it connects so much to my childhood. So I used to read, if anyone is familiar, there's this series that Hall of Fame basketball Coach Claire B put out in 1948 through 1966 called the Chip Hilton Sports Series. And so I actually read the kind of reruns that they did back in the late 90s. And then right when COVID hit, I somehow realized when I was reading the newer editions that there was first editions of the series. And so I went on this collecting rampage to go and get the entire series of first editions. And so that was really my reintroduction back into collecting. And so after I finished that series, I thought, I wonder how I could keep this collecting kind of frenzy going. And that's when I found my baseball cards and sports cards. And then that launched me into what'll be a lifetime of collecting for me now. And it's so fun. And so as I was, looking at cards, I realized that the author, Coach Claire B, actually modeled his main character Chip. And I'll show you, I've got one of the books here. Here's one of the first editions. This is actually one of my favorite books. It's book 5 called Hoop Crazy. And you can see here's Chip right here, the main character. And he's actually modeled after Bob Davies. And so when B wrote the books, he used to coach against Bob Davies, who played at Seton Hall, and Coach B called Davies the most complete athlete he had ever seen, just in the way he played. He was a baseball player as well as a basketball player, and then he was just a great man of integrity on and off the court. So B called him this really complete athlete.
Amazing. So had you even heard of Bob Davies before the book series or before your research?
No, not at all. I didn't even realize that Davies was the impetus behind Chip Hilton until I did some more research on the set. And so that Yeah, that's a great another basketball shot, and I feel like that really portrays Davies really well. It actually reminds me a lot of Davies' rookie card, which is the 1948 Bowman, which is in kind of another red shot here, um, which is cool. But yeah, so the books were modeled after Davies, and so I wanted to get some Davies cards, and so end up finding that Wheaties. And again, it's amazing that you could get a $10 card of a Hall of Famer, and it connected so, everything just connected with, my love of childhood books, with card collecting, and it's just amazing. And so again, there's so much joy that you can find in one simple card that really just like, the train went off the tracks. I went and found that rookie card. I, went and found, this book that I showed you earlier is actually, it's a signed copy from Claire B, which is really cool, of his first edition. And then that led me into finding a postcard of Claire B, and that shows his team of Long Island University. And on the back, he actually has this inscription where he talks about all the values that he instilled in his athletes. I won't read the whole thing, but he basically, his note, he talks about dedication, determination, confidence, perseverance, honesty, respect for fellow man. And so that was one reason why I just loved the books as a kid, is because they taught me so much. That was a big part of how I learned like what it looked like to be an athlete of, high character and integrity, and lead off and on the court. And I really think that the Chip Hilton series was a big reason why I went on to, play high school sports, play college sports, and, chase some Olympic dreams after that for a few years. And I do give the Chip Hilton series and arguably Bob Davies that credit. And so it really does. It's a cool tie-in to, a huge portion of my life. So I love the fact that, again, one simple card really was the impetus behind a lot. And then he actually has a portrait shot as well too. So that's a cool.
So this is also from the Wheaties set, right?
Yep. So the Wheaties set, and I'm still learning about it, but it's perfect. Yeah. So it's a multi-sport set of a lot of different athletes. You had golf and baseball and basketball and all these different sports, and most of the cards had an action shot as well as a portrait. So with each athlete, you kind of had two different options. And then you can kind of see in that shot, but the really legit Wheaties cards actually had like a blue black line that went around the whole card, and they were hand cut out of the Wheaties box. And so you'll see every now and then, I don't know if you've seen, the high grade ones, but they'll have the actual borders all the way around. So I did not find one with the blue borders. That would be awesome if I could get one day. But yeah, really cool about that set though.
If I remember right, I think George Mikan has a card in that set?
Yes, I think he does too. I think that's one of the big ones for sure.
Sure. So I'm going to go back a little bit to you searching for the right copy. Eventually that led you to baseballcards.com and the guy who took his sweet time, giving you the copy. What were you sort of anticipating in terms of price? Because you said you were just trying to find the right price. What were you, before you found that $10 copy, about what range were they in?
Yeah, I mean, again, you could probably find them in the, 50, 60, like that $50 to $100 range. But I had seen some sales of decent copies in that like $20 range. And so, but I couldn't find any. It took me, a few months, several months to even just find something that was comparable. And then that's when we've all had those like late, I think I went on this website like super late at night and was like, oh, I just, happened to, it was like hiding in the deep crevices of the internet. And that's where I was like, oh, they like, again, the image was good. Like, yeah, the borders weren't there, but the card presents really well. And so he had both the action and the portrait listed at $20 for both. And I was like, okay, like I'm going to take a flyer on this. And, turns out I had to take a 6-month flyer on it, but it certainly worked out.
Yeah, I guess if anything, the price was worth it, as long as it finally paid off.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it worked out in the end, but it definitely was a lesson of patience, as well as, probably won't be dealing with him again, even if I find something that I like. I think with the Wheaties cards, though, Davies is that, kind of fine balance of someone that is not is readily available, because, there's not as many people chasing his cards. And so I just don't think there's as many, sales being made. And so it's not like, a DiMaggio or forget some of the other names that are in that set, or a Mikan, where those are being turned in different hands more often.
Yeah, as we start to wind down a little bit, I want to go back to something that you said before, and I've noticed that this ties into some other things that people have said throughout this series as well, and as I've been able to have these conversations, and that was joy. You brought up the word joy. I think you're the third or fourth person to bring up the word joy. You never hear, or maybe I just never hear. We rarely hear someone say, "Hey, I picked up this essential credential out of 29, uh, 8,900 OBO. What joy do I have? What joy this gave me from this card." What is it, do you think, about the lower price cards and these personal cards that bring out that sort of emotion that maybe, the cards that get all the clicks and all the likes on social media don't have?
Yeah, and I think, you have to really take a hard look in the mirror of, what do you want your collecting to be? And for me, that's finding cards, no matter the value, $5 or $500, that tie into my story, that I can look at, and they, point to, greater truth or greater meaning. For me, like that Davies, it points to my childhood. It points to a lifelong of athletic pursuit. It points to, trying to be a man of great character and integrity. And so again, $5 helped produce that, and that's amazing. And so I think people get so bogged down on, like you said, whatever expensive refractor parallel, or what, Mickey Mantle 52 tops, you name it. But the reality is joy can be found in these small cards. I think a great example in my collecting has been, I love track and field cards, and that's been a big part of my journey. And I can get some amazing, like, lifelong dream type cards for $10, and it's amazing. And so I think there are so many great options that people forget about, because they're so focused on the glamorous, showing everyone what I got. When they think about their own journey, there's so many more cards that could bring them great joy if they really stopped and try to cast a vision for what their collecting should look like for them, and not someone else. Don't collect like someone else. Collect the way that brings you meaning and you value. So that's been really fun to continue to grow in that area, though.
I love that. It's amazing. So Bob Davies influenced was the influence behind the Chip Hilton books. The Chip Hilton books inspired you to high school, college, and beyond. And now here you are, sort of going full circle, and going after the cards of the person that inspired the books that inspired you. It's like, what a wonderful cyclical event that is.
Man, I am so grateful. It's stories like these that, continue to bring me back to cards. And again, like you said, there's joy. There truly is joy. And it's like, when you look at a little card like this, it is so magical that can take us so many places. And man, what a gift. And we are so grateful, and we should all be taking advantage of little moments like that in these, small value cards that can truly bring us incredible joy. So you absolutely nailed it, Dave.
All right, everyone, check out Matt at Matt Straight Race Cards on Instagram. His YouTube page Straight Race Cards. Matt, thank you so much for sharing your story. It really has been inspiring.
Man, what a gift. Thank you, Dave, for doing this series. Always grateful for you, brother, and how you contribute so much to the hobby. Thank you.